many now, years ago, an appointment with a couple who was refinancing a house. And it was at the very least the gentleman's second marriage, maybe more, I don't know. But it was not his first. And I don't think his first one ended on a great note. At the very least, he had some pretty significant financial trauma of his own. And when I was there to get their paperwork signed, he was absolutely off the chain livid that his current wife was needing to sign any of the documents for this refinance, particularly the mortgage, which, if you're not aware of the difference between a note and a mortgage, the note is the promise to the bank to pay the loan back, and the mortgage is what gets recorded with the county and shows who has ownership interest in that property. You can be on the mortgage and not on the note. So in the state where I live, we are considered a spousal state. The spouse has to sign off on any large financial transactions that involve real estate. Whether they are the person on the note or not, they have an ownership interest in that piece of property. So in this particular case, of course, by state law, his wife needed to sign the mortgage and some other documents that essentially are put in place to say, yes, I'm aware that this financial transaction regarding a place where I live is happening. And it's not being done without my knowledge. But that information did not deter this man from being angry, from pounding the table and having a full-on fit. We were trying to call his lender to re-explain everything to him because he didn't want to believe me. And he wanted to cross her name off of things. He didn't want her to sign things, which we can't alter the loan documents or anything like that without voiding them. So we were in a kind of a weird position, but it was late. It was hard to get a hold of the loan officer. Once we finally did, he kind of talked this man back. But let me tell you, I continued to hear about, in his mind, what a complete crock of crap this was, and that he didn't want his wife's name on anything because it was his house. And she was sitting there. You could watch her visibly shrink. She was saying, as far as she was concerned, she didn't feel like she needed to sign anything, that she didn't want the house, that she didn't want him to be concerned about that. And that wasn't even the point. The point is the way things were happening was to abide by state law. And it's not negotiable. She was visibly shaken by his response. And I was concerned for her, mostly because his responses to this were so overwhelming and so negative that I don't know what he thought was going to happen. Clearly he was trying to protect himself from maybe something he had experienced in the past, but this was certainly not the time or the place to try to put those legal protections into place. That is, between you and your attorney to get any of those documents drawn up, completely separate from this particular process. But had I been her in that situation, watching him lose his mind about the idea that I might have interest in that property should anything happen to him. It's been years. I hope everything worked out well for them. I hope they figured out ways to communicate about this. And I hope he healed from whatever had hurt him in the past. But this was the kind of response that I found extremely alarming in terms of how things were going to go for them if things took a turn and their relationship wasn't all that they hoped that it would be. it was going to get very ugly very fast, at least based on the glimpse that I got to see that evening sitting at their dining room table.